All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Venus Martz. I am the president of the Greater North County Chamber. Welcome to our Paycheck Protection Program relaunch overview with the SBA this morning. I want to introduce Trish Freeland with the SBA, and she will introduce our speakers. So, Trish, take it
Thank you,
away.
Venus. Thank you much. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I am an outreach and marketing specialist with the Small Business Administration, and we are a member of your chamber. And one of the reasons that we wanted to hold this webinar today is to make sure that chamber members have access to the most current information about the Paycheck Protection Program and other coronavirus relief aid available through the SBA, and to give you direct access to SBA lending experts. And they don't come better than Tom Diver, who is our lead lending relations specialist. So because Tom is short on time, we only have an hour or less. I'm going to yield to Tom right now.
Thank you, Trish. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be with you. As you can tell, we've been a little busy over the last couple of weeks. We are relaunching the PPP program, so it has been relaunched. And actually, as of this morning, all lenders that have 1 billion or less in assets are able to submit new PPP loan applications. So I got some slides here that I'll go through briefly and give you an overview of that, and then we'll be happy to take some questions after that. You'll see on this first slide a disclaimer. So I do need to point out that I do not have authority to make policy for SBA. I'm happy to share my information and guidance where I can. I've read through and studied the new law and the new regulations, but obviously anything that I say is subject to and subordinate to any of the PPP laws and rules that have been put out along with any official SBA guidance. So we'll talk about some key dates, and we'll cover the first draw loans and now second draw loans, which are basically new terminology that was established with the new law, and then we'll give an update on the forgiveness process and then share some resources with you. So Congress intended the PPP to increase access to the hardest hit small businesses, and initially SBA rolled out the program only through community financial institutions. As I mentioned earlier, now all lenders, smaller lenders with less than 1 billion in assets are able to send in applications to SBA. So for the PPP program, you work with your lender, they process your application, and then they submit that into SBA for the guarantee. So if you don't have a lender, you can go to sba.gov, and there's a lender match tool, which allows you to find participating lenders. So to kind of recap the dates, on Monday, the portal was open for the community financial institutions, which specialize in getting loans into the areas which are underserved. And then on Wednesday, the program was available for second draw loans through those community financial institutions. Today then, as of 8 a.m. this morning, the smaller lenders are able to submit applications. And then on Tuesday, all participating lenders will be able to submit applications. The applications for the PPP program do have to be submitted by March 31st. And you'll note on a little footnote on the bottom of the screen, it says information current as of 1/14. As you're aware, Congress has made some changes, so they may again extend that, but as of the current rule, the applications have to be in by March 31st. So what is a first draw loan? Basically, a first draw loan is any qualified business that did not obtain has not obtained a PPP loan. The prior program was established and the first funding was in April of 2020, and then Congress extended the date until August 8th, and then that's when it lapsed. So anybody that did not receive a PPP loan prior to August 8th is now able to apply. And there is additional expenses that are now also covered. It's primarily a paycheck protection program, so it's primarily computed off of payroll, but there are other expenses now that have been added, including if businesses are providing personal protection equipment, that's covered, as well as updates to systems and software, et cetera, to deal with pandemic type of issues, as well as being able to use the money for supplies and several other things. So it really expands the eligible uses for expenses, because the goal of the program is for businesses to get the loan and then use the money for payroll and other expenses. And 60% still has to be used for payroll and hopefully qualify if they have the loan 100% forgiven. Borrowers can now select when they submit their application for forgiveness any period of time between 8 weeks and 24 weeks. So the lender makes the loan, SBA gives them a loan number. The lender has up to 10 days after the loan, SBA issues the loan number to disperse the loan. It has to be dispersed in one lump sum to the borrower. And then the borrower has up to 24 weeks from the date of receipt of the loan proceeds to use the funds for eligible purposes to qualify for forgiveness. The new rule also allowed certain borrowers to request an increase in the loan. So borrowers that returned their prior loan or didn't use all the loan can come back in and also get an increase to the previous loan. The newly eligible, there are some new eligible entities that are able to apply, such as housing cooperatives, destination marketing, which is, for example, travel agencies, eligible news organizations, and I'm sure Venice is interested to know as well that 501Cs are now able to apply for PPP loans. So our chambers of commerce can now apply for PPP loans. And then, of course, still eligible are partnerships, corporations, LLCs, sole proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed, 501c nonprofits, including churches, are eligible for the program, as well as veterans organizations and tribal businesses. So a pretty wide range of businesses that are eligible. So I mentioned earlier the second draw loan. So second draw loan is a new provision put into the law by Congress that was signed into law on December 27th. So now borrowers who had a previous PPP loan can come back and apply for a second draw loan. So basically you can come back in and get a second PPP loan. The requirements are you have to have 300 employees or less, and you have to demonstrate a 25% reduction in gross receipts. We've got a lot of questions on that. What the loss is you're showing a quarterly loss from 2020 compared to your prior same quarter in 2019. So if you had revenue of $100,000 in the second quarter of 2019, you'd have to have revenue of $75,000 or less in the second quarter of 2020. SBA is also interpreted to make it easier as you can use the full year 2020 versus 2019. So if you have a revenue decrease of 25% or more, then that is one of the requirements. For most borrowers, the maximum amount of the draw is similar to how you computed the first draw loan. You take your average monthly payroll, multiply that by 2.5 months, and divide. So you take your monthly payroll, divide by 12 to come up with an average month, and then times 2.5 months. You're able to take 2.5 months of payroll costs as the maximum amount of your PPP loan. The first draw loan was at 10 million. This Treasury and SBA has reduced that to 2 million to make sure there's more money available to a broader sense of small businesses. Businesses that are in the accommodation and food service, which is basically hotels and restaurants, they can qualify for 3.5 times their payroll cost when computing their PPP loans. There are new application forms. So if you're applying for a first draw loan, you would use the new 2483 form, and there's a brand new 2483-SD form for those applying for a second draw loan. And you can also work with your lender. Before you go through and fill out the form, I suggest contacting your lender, because some lenders are doing it online, so you may not even have to provide the form. So it's kind of up to the lender to decide how to submit the information. You can submit the information to them on their form with the similar information in the application. But the borrowers will provide a certification that the information that they are providing is accurate. So again, to qualify for a second draw, you have to have received the first draw loan, and you have had or will use all those funds before the second loan can be dispersed. So you can go ahead and apply for a second draw loan if you're still winding down your first draw of money, but you have to have fully use all that money before the second draw loan can be funded to you. Of note, that does not mean your first draw loan has to be forgiven, but it means you have to have used the funds. Again, 300 employees or less and a 25% reduction in gross revenue. Some things that have changed in the forgiveness process. One big change is that the law now does not require SBA to deduct the EIDL advances from forgiveness payment. So businesses that had a PPP loan and got an advance and had submitted forgiveness, which they would have had their forgiveness payment reduced. So that is no longer the case. So businesses now will be able to not have to qualify for full forgiveness, even if they got an EIDL advance. And SBA does the EIDL loans directly. So those are loans that you can apply for on SBA.gov. So that's a separate loan. That is a loan. It's not forgivable, but it is up for 30 years at fixed rate of 3.75%. So it is another good funding option. For businesses that have already gotten forgiveness and had the EIDL advance subtracted, SBA will automatically send the difference to your lender, so your lender will be able to reimburse you for those funds. And the last I heard, it may take up to 60 days for SBA to process those millions of advances, but they will be automatically processed. The forgiven PPP loans are not taxable income, and IRS originally had said you couldn't deduct expenses, but the law changed that as well. So now any PPP loan that you receive as forgiven is not taxable income, and you can still deduct those expenses that you're using for forgiveness on your tax return. I mentioned earlier the expanded, there's more expenses as you can use to qualify. You still need to use 60% of your PPP for payroll to qualify. And there is a new forgiveness form, new forgiveness process that is coming. The Congress increased the simplified forgiveness application from $50,000 to $150,000. So any PPP loan of $150,000 or less will have a one-page forgiveness form and make it much simpler to request forgiveness. One last item on the EIDL advances. We get a lot of questions on this. Congress, in the new law, Congress did pass more funding for targeted EIDL advances. But my understanding is those funds have already been committed to businesses that either did not get the full 10,000 last time and or had applied for advance and the money had ran out in July. So those folks will automatically be contacted by SBA if they're in low income areas to ask if they would like that advance. So there is not a current process to apply for a new EIDL advance. That process will be automatically handled by SBA from the records of folks who have already put in applications for those advances. So what you can do now is contact your lender. If you don't have a lender, you can go to Lender Match on SBA.gov. And if you have questions on documents, you can also get all those on SBA.gov as well. There's additional resources available on the SBA.gov website. You can go to the SBA webpage for St. Louis office. You can find a list of all our resource partners that provide great service, and most of that is free counseling, and most of the seminars are also free. There are a few that have a small fee, but for the most part, it's all free service. And on here, this slide, I've also got the contact information for our office. Our number is 539-6600, or you can email us at stlouis@sba.gov. Maureen Brinkley is our district director, and get my information on here as well. You can contact anyone at our office, and we'd be more than happy to help you and answer questions on that. So those are the prepared comments and hopefully a good overview of the process. And I'd be happy to answer questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Tom?
Yes, I have a question. This is Bob McGarland. Tom, I haven't I haven't done my paperwork for the first round forgiveness loan. Is there a timeline when that has to be submitted?
That's a good question, Bob. Yeah, so there is a timeline, but you have every PPP loan, you have up to 24 weeks to use your funds. So basically, let's just say for simplicity, that's 6 months. So let's assume you got your loan when it first was available in April. So you have up until October to use the funds, and then you have another 10 months after that to submit your application. So there's no deadline until August of 2021 would be the first deadline. You can submit it at any time you're qualified and you feel you want to go ahead and get forgiveness. If you haven't submitted one yet, my recommendation is I would wait until the new forms are out, because I think the process is going to get even easier. But there's no deadline for forgiveness. The first deadline would be August of 2021.
Okay, thank you.
I have one, if I may. If you're on the first draw, like a chamber or a church, do you have to worry about the 25% reduction between previous quarters?
That's a good question, Fletcher. No, the short answer is no. The 25% reduction is just the requirement for the second draw. So the first draw folks who did not get a prior PPP loan would be able to apply under the prior rules. So you would not need to show a 25% reduction in revenue to qualify for a first draw PPP loan.
Thank you.
Tom, we had a question from that was submitted in the chat, and they asked, should I go back to the same local bank where I applied before or start a new application?
That is totally up to the business. You can use any lender that you want. Obviously, if you had a good experience with the first lender and you want to go back and get a second draw, the process could be easier because they already have much of the information already on file. So under the second draw, you can choose between 2019 and 2020 payroll and what records you want to use. So if you qualified under 2019 and you want to go back for a second draw, they should have the information on file already. But long answer to say yes, you can go to the same lender, or you can go to a different lender to apply for a second draw. If you wanted to increase if you fit under one of the rules that allow for an increase, you'd have to go back to the lender that made the first loan. But if you're going back for a second loan, you can go to any lender that you would like.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Tom? He's going to be here only for a couple of more minutes.
So just to confirm, basically, if you didn't have a 25% drop in revenue, you're not eligible for the loan, correct?
That is correct for the second draw. So the first draw, if you have not had a PPP loan yet, you could apply. The revenue reduction does not apply. But to obtain a second draw loan, that is part of the new law, is that you have to show a 25% decrease in your revenue in 2020 compared to 2019. And you can measure that based upon the entire year, 2020 versus 2019, or you can measure that based on any quarter in 2019 to a comparable quarter in 2020. But yes, to qualify for a second draw, you do have to show a reduction in revenue of at least 25%.
And you said that like nonprofits are eligible, but it's nonprofits that have to have a payroll, though, correct?
Yes, that is correct. It is the PPP, so Paycheck Protection Program. So yes, nonprofits would use their payroll. So they take their total payroll for the year, divide by 12 to come up with an average month, and then take that number times 2.5 times, and that would be your eligible payroll. Now, one thing to point out is that no individual can get more than $100,000 on an annualized basis. So you take a total payroll, you have to reduce anyone who was paid more than 100 down to 100 before you figured your average. But yes, so for a nonprofit, you would use their payroll. For self-employed individuals, you can use Schedule C. So you take Schedule C net income, and that can be 2019, or If you think 2020 is going to have a higher net income, you might want to use 2020 Schedule C, realizing most folks have not. I don't think anyone's filed their 2020 tax return yet, but what you can do is take your income and expenses for the year, put those on a draft of the 2020 Schedule C, and then use that 2020 Schedule C. So you can use 2019 or 2020 Schedule C if you're self-employed, and that is based upon the same computation. You take your total net income for the year for your sole proprietorship, come up with average monthly, so you divide by 12 and take that times 2.5. And again, that is also capped at $100,000. So the computation of 100,000 divided by 12 times 2.5 would equal 20,833 would be the maximum amount that a sole proprietor could qualify on an individual PPP loan.
Thanks.
All right, does anyone else have any questions for Tom? So Tom, it's the whole year payroll, right? Not just, because I'm looking at the application here and it says average monthly payroll. It doesn't say average yearly payroll. So which number does an organization put down?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So what you do is you take your payroll for the full year, but then you divide by 12 to come up with your monthly. So use your entire payroll for the year, divide by 12, that would be your monthly. And then you can multiply that by 2.5 times to figure out what your eligible PPP loan amount would be.
Okay, awesome.
Is that on, would we take the annual payroll for 2020 or can we take the annual payroll for 2021? Like what we expect it to be?
No, it has to be based upon what you actually reported on your W-2s and your reported for payroll. So you would base it upon your actual 2019 or 2020 payroll, because your lender is going to need to see your payroll reports to verify those numbers. So whichever is more beneficial for you, you can use 2019 or 2020, but you will have to take some type of report for payroll to show them how you computed that.
Thank you.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, Tom, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the group? Or Trish, would you like to share anything else with the group?
Well, yes. Tom, can you talk about the types of lenders that are offering PPP loans as of today? I know we opened it up to small lenders, and then the rest of the lenders will be able to open their portals next week. But today, the small lenders, can you explain what SBA's definition of small lender is?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, the lenders who are available today are any lenders that have less than $1 billion in assets. So that is the vast number of loans. The big national banks are all above that number. So they are not going to be able to submit applications until Tuesday. That doesn't mean if you bank with one of the larger banks, you can go ahead and get your paperwork done and get it to them, but they will not be able to submit those into SBA until Tuesday. The purpose of that is to try to make as much money available to the smaller businesses as possible. So that's how SBA kind of stepped it up. So basically, initially, as of Monday, it was basically the smaller lenders, like our micro lenders, community development financial institutions, were able to start the process a few days earlier. So as of today, most community banks are able to do the PPP loans and submit them to SBA now. That doesn't mean if you're working with a larger bank, that's fine. You can go work with them, get them the application information, and they can be ready to submit your application for you on Tuesday when that opens up for them.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. While we still have everybody on here, I just want to give a quick plug for our district office, the SBA St. Louis district office. If you need help or counseling with your business or getting ready for a PPP loan or just a regular SBA loan, we have a large network of resource partners that make counseling available to you free of charge. Our small business development centers, SCORE, Veterans Business Outreach Center, and we have a new Women's Business Center run by the Urban League of St. Louis. So if you want to be connected with any of them, please be sure to take down our contact information. The 539-6600 number is the main number for our office. And then our general email box, the stlouis@sba.gov, we're all tied into that box. So one of us will answer any questions that you send to that box. But if you want to be connected with our resource partners and also to be made aware of our government contracting programs for women-owned small businesses, service-disabled veterans, Hub Zone, and then our socially and economically disadvantaged business development program called the 8A program. If you would like to know more about those programs, definitely reach out to the SBA St. Louis District Office so you can get more information on that. I participate in the Chamber's monthly women's networking group to try and share, little tidbits at a time each month to make sure that Chamber members are aware of the different services provided by the SBA. But for the entire group, we just want to make sure that you have access to us and you're aware of the different ways that we can help you. Please follow us on Twitter. We are SBA_St. Louis. And also, if you have not signed up for our bulletins, please look at the way to subscribe to the SBA newsletters, because we send a lot of really good information out. And if we have information on a program that is applicable to small businesses, but even if it's not ours, if it's run by the city of St. Louis or the county, we will share that information with you as well. Whenever they have grant programs, if it's going to help you, we will share it on our news service. So please make sure you sign up for our newsletter and to stay connected with us. Our district director was going to join us, but I think we're probably wrapping up a little
I think
early.
she
So.
just actually came on board.
Morning. Awesome.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I am so sorry. I want you to know, though, that I did get off the call with the administrator. She doesn't know I did, but I did because I had to be on and talk with you all this morning. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. When Trish told me that you wanted to have this meeting today, last week, I'll be very honest with you, I was hesitant because I thought we weren't quite ready. We weren't as ready as I wanted us to be. But those of you who've heard me before, you often hear me say that I don't believe that there are no coincidences in my life. I believe that God has a plan for my life, and I trust in him and his guidance. And guess what? Late yesterday, we got a notice. We had a special call that we were informed that the portal had been opened up for all lenders. And that's what that call was about just now. And in some states, some lenders have already been receiving applications. So again, no coincidences. And Tom even told me this morning that he had gotten some good news from some lenders. So you are the first group that I will have and the last group that I will have the opportunity to say to you that get ready, get ready, get ready. You're the first group to apply for PPP3. And again, no coincidences. And let me just, and I think I heard Trish say that you were about to close up. So normally when I start talking, they always say, okay, Maureen's on, you're gonna have to pull the mic on her because she doesn't know when to shut up. But I'm not gonna hold you long because I know it's Friday morning and we have things to do. But every day over the last 9 months, I've heard from people who are in the middle of this, the biggest hardship in your lives of running a small business. And my job is to let you know that the SBA, we're here to help you survive and to thrive. And most important, I've said this before, that to help you realize and understand that this is just a chapter in your book. This is not the story. We're going to get through this together. And, this is one time the term, we're the government and we're here to help. I really mean that. Trust me, challenge me, call me on it. Call me and say, Ms. Brinkley, Maureen, whichever you prefer to call me, because I'm an old lady. You promised us on Friday morning, January 15th it is, I guess, 2021, in front of a whole bunch of other people in Zoom, that you were going to do this. And I want you to do it. And I promise you, I live up to my commitments. You're resilient people. Small business owners are resilient. And there's never been a time than this that you've had to, that's been truer than this year, and you've had to live up to it. Since the coronavirus outbreak hit, you've been in uncharted waters. You've had health concerns, not only with your business, but in your families. And we've all been faced with dramatic changes like none of us have ever dreamed before. But you faced it with disruption in your businesses and in your livelihoods. Like I said, your employees and your families depend on you. I'm sure Tom did an excellent job, as he always does, on our loan program. And I want to say to you, I want to share something with you that some people are probably tired of hearing me say, but I'm never going to stop saying it because it's become my testimony. Last year on September 5th, I celebrated 53 years with the agency. And my work has become my ministry. Not bragging, praise the Lord, but I could stay home and make as much money as, or probably more money than I make coming to work every day. But I'm on this train. I'm on this train and I'm going to ride it out because I'm working for you and with you. If I ever had any thought of retiring prior to last year, that has changed. Because I've been motivated by the news. I've been motivated by you, people like you, who continue to get up and work every day. When we would see the lines on TV of people sitting there, standing, waiting for food, or sitting in their cars all night, only to get to the end of the line and find out that there's no more. I've been blessed, my family's been blessed. We have not been able to do that, but millions have had to do that. And if I have to get up every morning, and Tom Diber too last year, and Trish, my whole staff, but Tom and I worked 10, 14-hour days, including Saturdays and Sundays. Even Easter Sunday morning before sunrise service, we were up helping people get into our system. And that's because we knew that we were going to get a paycheck on Friday. But your employees did not. And if that was the only contribution that I could make to help these businesses like yours survive, I was willing to do it. And I'm willing to do it again. Our administrator just assured us that we will not run out of money. So just like I told you to challenge me and call me on it, even though she'll be gone after next week, somebody's going to be sitting in that chair. And believe me, a bunch of us will call whomever the administrator is on it to get the funds out and the money. It's heartbreaking as I drive the streets of St. Louis County, St. Charles, or wherever I am, to see shuttered doors. And we've got to get this economy back. We've got to get businesses open because businesses create jobs, and jobs are what families need in order to survive. So we're going to do what we can. This is the second workshop that we did this week. The first one, we did not have anywhere to have you go, but the administrator just told us that we have a bunch of major new fintechs on board, ready to go on Tuesday. Bank of America's on board, Chase is on board. The systems are up and ready to go. And again, that's something that Tom and Trish and I would not have been able, we did not tell the people on Wednesday. We didn't think we'd be able to tell anyone today. But again, no coincidences. You are the first, and you have no idea how glad I was last night when I found out that we would have the opportunity to say that to you today. That Tuesday morning is the big kahuna. Tuesday morning is the day. You can start now, but the banks, the lenders are ready and they're committed to move on this. To each of you, the small businesses that are on the line today, I applaud you. My only regret, and I said this often to groups, my only regret is that I'm not in a room where I can shake your hands, look into your eyes, because that's what I like to do. Look into your eyes and speak to you and say to you so you can see the sincerity in my eyes of what we mean. I like to shake hands. I like to meet people. I remember faces. I may not always remember the names, but most of the time I do. Sometimes Trish is standing there leaning on me saying, there's so-and-so open the corner. But I do remember, I remember faces. I'm going to use a quote that I use very often from Maya Angelou, that people may forget what you do for them. They may forget what you say to them, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. So I'm hoping this morning that we have at least made you feel a little better about what you're going to have to deal with, or what you're dealing with, and how we can help you. So again, I'm going to leave, let you get back to what you're doing. I think Trish was getting ready to say her goodbyes to you. We have a lot of resources. We just got our new Women's Business Center on board this year with the Urban League, and they are going gangbusters. But we want you to be prepared for that after we get the funds back and get to move on. So you have a way to reach all of us. And as I said before, call me. She'll give you my phone number. She'll give you my email. Is the best way to reach me. And I promise you, I will not fail you. So thank you, and thanks again for inviting me, and have a blessed day, a weekend, and let's get back to business. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.